Father probably doesn't know, but the child in noble consort Li's belly isn't his imperial seed. It's a bastard. That young girl's voice appeared again. Smash! It was the sound of a wine cup shattering on the floor. The emperor on the dragon throne, his square-jawed face was flushed crimson from suppressed rage. The officials below all kept their heads bowed, exchanging furtive glances. Their eyes were alight with the excitement of witnessing royal gossip. By now, I'd already gained a grasp of my situation. I had transmigrated. I had become a cannon fodder prince in a heart-voiced novel. This novel was mainly about a female lead who, from birth, could make others hear her inner thoughts. As soon as she hit the ground, she prompted the emperor to beat the empress and the crown prince to death. She claimed the empress was having an affair with the grand secretary, and that even the crown prince was the grand secretary's seed. Her reasoning was that the crown prince was too handsome to be the son of the ugly emperor, and only the female lead resembled him. A triple kill right at the start. Ultimately, she would let His Majesty know that all his children, except for her, were bastards. The ending, of course, was that the female lead became the first empress regnant in history. Her harem was filled with her loyal simps. The female lead lived a life of holding the world's power when awake and reclining on the laps of beauties when drunk. The plot had now progressed to the point where the female lead, Lilihua, had used the emperor's hand to kill 15 princes. The only surviving prince was the original owner of my body, the 9th prince, Li Zhongshang. The original host had been able to survive this long partly because he had a mole on his left ear identical to the emperor's. Their grandfather had a mole in the exact same spot too. But more so, it was because the original host's mother was just a laundry maid and an orphan with no powerful family behind her. Having just given birth to a prince, she died in labor before she could even be rewarded or titled. An unpopular prince from the cold palace was naturally not a pressing threat. There was no rush. He could be killed at a more convenient time. But the favored noble consort, 5 months pregnant and diagnosed by imperial physicians as definitely carrying a boy, was the top priority. Father isn't even in a hurry. I wonder if those two are finished yet. If we're late, we won't be able to catch them in the act. That female voice rang out again. Everyone, the cherry blossoms in noble consort, Li's Changchun Palace, are blooming most attractively. My dear ministers, accompany me to admire them. The emperor spoke exactly as Li Lihua desired. We thank your majesty. The officials all knelt and kowtowed. I saw the excitement in their eyes. And as for the emperor walking in front, his face had turned a vibrant, agitated shade of green. Why is father going to Changchun Palace? Does he know noble consort Li is having an affair? Li Lihua's inner voice continued. This is bad. Noble consort Li is in trouble now. What a pity. The osmanthus cakes, she makes are quite delicious. I won't be able to eat them anymore. Actually, noble consort Li's affair isn't that big of a deal. Doesn't father have 3,000 beauties in his harem anyway? The noble consort only gave father 1 green hat. That's not many at all. Poor noble consort Li sighed. Li Lihua's heart was full of regret and sympathy. Hearing her inner thoughts, His Majesty's pace quickened, wishing he could catch the adulterers right this instant. Upon arriving at Changchun Palace, the emperor did not let the noble consort's attendants announce his arrival, leading a large group of people straight inside. The eunuchs and maidservants of Changchun Palace were all seized and held down by the imperial guards. The emperor's personal eunuch led several tall, sturdy guards to smash open the door of noble consort Li's bedchamber. The emperor was the first to charge in. Bold wench, you actually dared to betray me. His Majesty's voice was filled with fury and sorrow. Over the years, he had experienced such betrayals countless times. Even seeing it once again, he was still deeply grieved. Why? Why was this happening? He, the dignified son of heaven, the most noble man in all of Great Gene, was still being spurned like this. This was the 16th green hat. 16. A full 16 hats. Who knew how he had managed to endure these past 16 years? All the men present looked at His Majesty with sympathy. Sigh, how pitiful. Poor His Majesty. Cuckolded yet again. Even if His Majesty is the most powerful man in Great Gene, he still can't win a woman's heart. Not like them. Handsome, dashing, suave, the ideal catch. Some officials tried their best to suppress their sense of superiority, not daring to let His Majesty notice. Your Majesty! The immense commotion startled noble consort Li and guard Wang, who were lying naked in bed. The two of them stared at the crowd in complete bewilderment. Several guards stepped forward and dragged guard Wang off the bed, binding him before he could even put on his clothes. Your Majesty, I do not know what is happening. I have not offended the noble consort. Guard Wang struggled violently as he tried to explain. Pierce his mouth. I do not wish to hear the voice of that adulterer, the emperor commanded ruthlessly. A eunuch nearby immediately used a long, thick needle to pierce right through guard Wang's mouth. Yeah. The scene was filled with guard Wang's screams of agony. Your Majesty, I have not betrayed you. Your Majesty, you must believe me. Noble consort Li disregarded everything else. Wrapped only in a silk quilt, she knelt before the emperor and clung to his legs, crying out her innocence. Your Majesty, I have witnessed so many tragic fates of my sisters in the past. How could I ever do something so foolish? For the past 16 years, such dramas had occurred every year. Noble consort Li had once gloated over them, but only now that it was her turn did she understand the grievance. I was alone when I took my afternoon nap. I do not know that guard. Noble consort Li cried out loudly in protest. The ministers also began to have doubts. Looking at noble consort Li's expression, she truly seemed defiant. Hearing her words, they indeed made sense. The emperor also worried that he might have wronged his beloved consort. After all, his dignity as a man was at stake. Asterisk sigh. Noble consort Li really can lie without even blushing. Isn't that guard Wang the former personal guard of her father, the Marquis of Jinbei? Asterisk her father specifically placed him in the palace to protect her, yet she actually claims she doesn't know him. Li Lihua's inner voice appeared at just the right moment. The emperor's expression, which had just softened, changed once again. He shot an inquiring look at Qi Feng, the captain of the guard. Qi Feng pondered for a moment before nodding to confirm that what Li Lihua said was true. You slut! That adulterer is one of your father's men, and you actually dare to say you don't know him, the emperor roared. Noble consort Li was stunned. She turned her head and tried hard to recognize guard Wang. Suddenly, her face turned deathly pale. In her earlier panic, she hadn't paid attention, but now that it was her turn, did she understand the grievance. It was indeed someone she knew. Guard Wang had even been her childhood playmate. This was bad. This was a setup aimed specifically at her. Someone was out to get her. Just like how they had dealt with other concubines and princes before. The same trick, and just as effective. Bitch, how dare you betray me? The emperor kicked noble consort Li squarely in the stomach. The bastard inside her deserved to die 1,000 deaths too. Noble consort Li screamed in agony. Blood stained the beige silk quilt red. Guards, drag these two wretches away and execute them. The emperor's roar shook Huayan Palace. Father, your son sees that the consort's expression is not right. Perhaps she has been framed and set up. I hurriedly knelt before the emperor to plead. How about letting the imperial physician come and examine her? Noble consort Li comes from a family of military marquises, and the Marquis of Jinbei acts with honor and integrity. Your son believes the consort would not do such an outrageous thing. The look noble consort Li gave me was filled with gratitude. The emperor hesitated again. This ninth brother is quite kind. Could it be because misery loves company? After all, he's a bastard too. Damn it, Li Lihua is trying to use a combo move to take me down with her. Hearing her inner thoughts, everyone perked up. Here it comes again. The drama today is never-ending. The emperor was gasping for air, even more from pure rage. You. The emperor wavered. This child still looked like him. They clearly had the same mole. Although ninth brother has the same mole as father, he's actually the son of the sixth imperial uncle. That sixth imperial uncle has a mole in the exact same spot on his left ear. Huh, very well. Li Lihua is trying to get rid of me now. Then I won't be polite either. I sneered inwardly, and without hesitation, I had my system bind the truth-telling system to Li Lihua's soul. Guards! Guards! The emperor screamed until his voice cracked from fury. He still thought. He thought this was his only heir. Good heavens, this is too much to bear. Oh my, the last little brat is about to be finished off too. So boring. I'm tired of playing out the same drama every year. It's time to wrap things up. I've turned 16 now. It's time to make my move. Last night, that old geezer already drank the sterility soup I sent him. From now on, it's impossible for any more little brats to be born. The newly bound truth system instantly exposed Li Lihua's inner thoughts. Furthermore, the system broadcasted those thoughts to everyone present. From now on, whenever she had a thought, as long as I was nearby to remote control it, everyone around her would hear her inner monologue. The emperor thought of the white jade soup his princess had delivered last night. He thought of the supreme favor he had bestowed upon Li Lihua over the past 16 years. He thought of the princes and concubines he had mistakenly executed in the past. He thought of the ministers whose entire clans he had exterminated, and the person he had just kicked aside. Everyone seemed to turn into wooden statues, their eyes darting toward Li Lihua. The woman was still feigning boredom, playing with her fingers as if she couldn't see everyone staring at her. After countless such performances in the past, she had become accustomed to it. It's so funny seeing the shocked expressions on these old geezers' faces every time. It's their blessing to be toyed with by me. Too bad I have to pretend to be oblivious. It's so exhausting. Oh, is my cheap old geezer about to pass out? What's wrong? Can't handle this? Didn't you survive the last 16 years just fine? Don't die just yet. Pass the throne to me before you kick the bucket. Whoa! Everyone's eyes widened in shock. Even the guards who were dragging noble consort Li away let go in fright. Noble consort Li's sorrowful tears hung suspended, halfway between falling and stopping. What massive ambition this princess has. She wants to be the first empress regnant in history. No wonder she wanted to get rid of all the princes. Eldest princess. Chi Feng, the captain of the guard, suddenly spoke up. What's wrong, Uncle Chi Feng? Shouting so loudly, you gave me a fright. Still, Uncle Chi Feng is as charming as ever. He was so rough last night. My waist is still sore. That old woman of the Duke of E is getting a bargain. Sooner or later, I'll take Uncle Chi Feng into my own harem. Whoa, whoa. Everyone turned to look at Chi Feng, who was standing beside the emperor. The Duke of E looked like he wanted to skin Chi Feng and Li Lihua alive. His Majesty the Emperor retreated warily. The guards by his side also reacted swiftly, shielding His Majesty. Princess Royal. Chi Feng rushed to Li Lihua's side and clamped a hand over her mouth. Li Lihua's eyes widened. What is Chi Feng doing? He's got some nerve. The lowly thing has forgotten his place. After all, he's a married man. His cucumber is a bit dirty. He's not as well-behaved or obedient as the heir of Duke Zhang, who licks me like a pug. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So there's drama with Duke Zhang's family too. Everyone turned to look at the red-faced Duke Zhang. Duke Zhang, who had been happily enjoying the show just moments ago, now wanted to crawl into a hole. You rebellious son. I'll strip him of his title the moment I get back. Princess Royal. Shut up. Chi Feng had been cuckolded into a frenzy. He slapped her in public. Li Lihua's stunned expression instantly turned dark. How dare you? The female lead cursed angrily. Imperial father. Kill them. His Majesty was quite decisive, giving the female lead no time for nonsense, as he immediately issued the command. Over a dozen guards rushed toward Chi Feng and Li Lihua. Amidst the flash of blades for only a few breaths, Li Lihua's head was severed by a guard. The head rolled to my feet, and I saw that her face still carried confusion and bewilderment. Everything was clearly going according to her plan. How could she have suddenly gone offline? Had the guards killed the wrong person? She couldn't believe it. Qi Feng truly lived up to being the captain of the guard personally appointed by His Majesty. His martial arts were exceptional. The other guards couldn't take him down, and he even managed to lunge in front of His Majesty. I pulled out the short sword His Majesty carried on his person and stood in his way. Swish! One strike slit Qi Feng's throat. It was too fast. Blood sprayed all over my face before the crowd could even react. Qi Feng fell to the ground in resentment, clutching his neck. Finally, it was safe. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The emperor had issued a gag order regarding the incident at Changchun Palace that day. Princess Royal Li Lihua was declared to have died suddenly of illness. His Majesty ordered her body to be burned to ashes and her remains fed to the dogs. Her mother, noble consort Rong, who had risen to power because of her daughter, was bestowed a length of red silk by His Majesty to end her own life. Naturally, noble consort Rong's entire clan, to the 9th degree, could not escape. The emperor now viewed Li Lihua as a demon. Her maternal relatives, by extension, likely possessed demonic blood as well. What manner of demon dared to lay hands on his great Jin empire? Thinking of how he had once doted on a monster as if she were a goddess, the emperor felt both shame and terror. That day, the Duke of Yi returned home and immediately forced his eldest daughter to divorce Qi Feng. She returned to her natal home with her dowry. Fortunately, she and Qi Feng had no children, sparing her the agony of losing a child. Indeed, His Majesty discovered that noble consort Li had been drugged by Qi Feng's subordinates. The man's shadow was behind several previous cases of imperial concubines' alleged infidelity. Consequently, Qi Feng's clan was also exterminated to the 9th degree by the emperor's wrath. As soon as Duke Zhang arrived home, he ordered his servants to drag the heir apparent to the ancestral hall and make him kneel. After 30 strokes of the family paddle, the heir's legs lost any possibility of standing again. Stripping his name from the ancestral records and banishing him to a remote mountain villa was both an account to His Majesty and the final bit of mercy for the heir. Overnight, the capital underwent a tumultuous change, and the air was thick with tension. The ground of the execution grounds was soaked in blood every day. The commoners of the capital dared not speak loudly, and even the pleasure-seeking profligates behaved themselves for a time. It was not until His Majesty the Emperor invested me, the 9th Prince, as the crown prince that the capital regained its former liveliness. After the incident, the Emperor had the imperial physicians examine him. He had indeed been given drugs to ensure he had no further heirs, rendering him infertile. Besides me, the 9th Prince, his only remaining children were 5 princesses. Those 5 princesses had been born to the Emperor and other concubines after Li Lihua's birth. Li Lihua claimed to be a feminist. Any concubine who gave birth to a boy was killed by her using the emperor's hand. Only the concubines who birthed princesses survived. As the sole surviving prince, combined with my merit in saving the emperor, he named me crown prince and moved me into the Eastern Palace. Not a single voice of opposition came from the civil or military officials. My actions that day, pleading for noble consort Li and protecting the emperor, had earned me the support of the ministers. His Majesty is now filled with regret, thinking of the children and concubines he had wrongly executed in the past. He realized then that it was impossible for every single concubine who bore a son to have committed adultery. He still possessed charm and authority. After all, not everyone has the guts to commit such an act of high treason. As if they felt the heads on their necks were redundant, daring to cuckold the emperor. 1 or 2 such instances might be possible, but over a dozen? That was certainly a conspiracy. Unfortunately, he had been blinded and lost his wits before. It is useless to regret it now. They've already been killed. All he could do was restore their posthumous reputations, so they wouldn't go to hell carrying such a stain. He showered the wronged noble consort Li, who was bedridden and recovering, with constant rewards. Now, The entire court knows I am the great Jin's sole future son of heaven. My eastern palace is visited by officials every day. His Majesty has taken a tacitly approving stance toward this. He knows I am truly his only remaining seedling, and he must protect me well. The Emperor's rewards to my eastern palace haven't stopped for a month, and gifts from the other concubines arrive incessantly. 3 months passed. To wash away the previous bad luck, the pleasure-loving emperor held a grand palace banquet at Zhaoyang Hall. The ministers attended in grand fashion with their families. I and my 5 remaining younger sisters were also seated beside His Majesty. Everyone had been too tense lately, but now, with His Majesty's permission, we could finally relax, enjoy the delicacies, and appreciate the music and dance. While everyone was joyfully watching the dancers perform the Song of Rainbow and Feathered Chemises, a young girl's voice suddenly rang out in my mind. Why would Imperial Father appoint 9th brother as the Crown Prince? He's a bastard. I don't know what Sister Hua did to suddenly die so unexpectedly. It must be this bastard who framed her. The innocence in that voice and the indignation on her sister's behalf would make one subconsciously believe her words. I looked at the 12th princess beside me, who was only 15. I smiled. Very good. Though the voice wasn't familiar, the soul certainly was. Still just as filthy and dark. I was wondering how the female lead could kick the bucket so easily. I looked around. Everyone's smiles had vanished, and even the performing dancers had frozen in place. In His Majesty's eyes, there was no offense at being cuckolded, only anger, mixed with a hint of dread. This monster's powers are formidable. To have possessed another body so quickly, and it specifically targets their children for ruin. The ministers no longer had any interest in spectating the Emperor's scandals. They were only filled with dread. After all, His Majesty had just ordered the execution of 2 families and demoted a duke. Who knew who this monster would implicate this time? The noble ladies, palace maids, and musicians hearing the female lead's inner voice for the first time failed to hide their reactions. Aya! Huh! Gasps of shock and stunned faces. Their expressions were incredibly vivid. The female lead's acting was superb. She continued her internal monologue as if nothing were happening. Last Mid-Autumn Festival, I even saw the 6th Imperial Uncle paying his respects at Consort Yu's memorial tablet. Is Imperial Father planning to hand the Empire over to the 6th Imperial Uncle on a silver platter? Whoa! Consort Yu was the original host's late mother, and the original host was born on the Mid-Autumn Festival. The female lead is trying to tie the 6th Imperial Uncle and me together until we're dead. Today, the 6th Prince, a free spirit who usually stayed far from the capital, was also present at the banquet. He never expected that occasionally accepting his imperial brother's invitation would bring such immense trouble. Consort Yu? Who was that? Had he even met her? Wasn't he at the imperial tombs, paying respects to his own mother last year? Since when did he have designs on the throne? Did he even want to live anymore? One must remember that this imperial brother of his was a bloodthirsty monarch. The 6th Imperial Uncle wished he could charge over and run this nonsense-spewing niece through with a sword. For a long time, His Majesty did not react. Damn it, why hasn't that old fogey reacted yet? Hurry up and order someone to kill that bastard crown prince. Stupid old man, going crazy for no reason. You've ruined my plans of over a decade. At least this newly occupied body is pretty, unlike Li Hua, who's as hideous as the old man. Whoa, whoa. Everyone looked toward the Emperor on the dragon throne. You see, the Emperor had suffered from appearance-related anxiety for years. He was extremely sensitive about his face. He believed his concubines cheated on him because he was ugly. He had been gaslit by the female lead to the point of being borderline deranged. And now, the female lead actually dared to complain that he was ugly. Execute her. These 2 words were brimming with murderous intent. Once again, the Emperor offered no explanation and gave the order directly. The guards behind His Majesty, now experienced from previous occurrences, struck with ruthless efficiency. Swish! The 12th princess's head fell onto the table with a loud thud. Ea! The female guests were stunned senseless by the sudden execution, their screams erupting one after another. This banquet failed to dispel the misfortune. Instead, it only added a new layer of terror. The following day, His Majesty ordered the abbot of the Great Jin's most famous Ganin temple and the Taoist master of Tianyi sect to be summoned to the Ziwei Hall. Rituals were performed for all royal descendants, and everyone was required to wear a consecrated, life-preserving jade pendant at all times. Everyone in the royal family now knew. The formerly favored eldest princess was a demon who enjoyed possessing noble princesses to cause trouble. The remaining 4 princesses had also been present that day and had heard the female lead's true and false inner thoughts. The 4 of them were plagued by constant nightmares. After all, their imperial father was cold-hearted and ruthless. Their 12th sister had been possessed by a demon, and instead of trying to save her, their father had ordered her immediate execution. They feared they would follow in her footsteps. Seeing their trembling states, I had the system apply a soul-stabilizing lock to each of them. Unless they were willing, the female lead would be unable to possess them. In truth, the moment the female lead took over, the 12th princess's soul was already gone. The 12th princess had personally consented to the possession. She was beyond saving. I didn't know how the female lead had tempted the 12th princess, but it likely boiled down to the greed of the human heart. Remember, no matter what anyone says inside your heads, do not believe them. I warned them before leaving. The princesses nodded vigorously. With the rituals performed by the abbot and the Taoist master, the palace remained peaceful for half a year. The female lead did not emerge to stir up trouble. I took this time to learn about the local customs and the state affairs of the Great Jin dynasty. His Majesty even appointed me to oversee the state, starting my training in the Ministry of Personnel, perhaps wishing to prove his enduring virility or hoping for a miracle to occur. The emperor held a grand selection for concubines after his 56th birthday banquet. One beautiful young woman after another entered the old emperor's harem. Seeing that I handled government affairs well, the old emperor stopped attending morning court sessions, spending his days indulging in music and pleasure with his concubines. 3 months later, despite bedding dozens of concubines and consuming aphrodisiacs like they were meals, the emperor still received no good news from the imperial physicians. His body was utterly finished. His bloodline was completely severed. At that moment, His Majesty's hatred for the female lead soared through the clouds. Just then, a eunuch came to report. An anomaly has appeared over the 16th princess. Upon receiving the news, the emperor and I arrived at the 16th princess's chambers one after the other. Before we even entered, we saw a golden phoenix soaring above the palace. I could see that the female lead was really going all out. How much cultivation power must she have spent to conjure such an illusion? His Majesty felt no joy at seeing this miracle. He remained firmly convinced that this was a demon's trick. Its purpose was to steal his Li family's dynasty. Upon entering, we saw a timid and helpless 10-year-old girl. Sigh, the child was fooled after all. The female lead was smarter this time. She didn't intentionally leak any fake inner thoughts to us. Father, the bird up there is so pretty. Why is it above my head? The child possessed by the female lead was innocent and adorable, blinking her pure and flawless eyes. She must have suspected that her spells were failing and didn't dare use the same old tricks again. Now, she was going to play the innocent little cutie? Your Majesty, this is an auspicious omen. Heaven is protecting our great Jin. The 16th princess is truly your Majesty's daughter. The officials following behind His Majesty looked at the golden phoenix above the palace with excitement, falling to their knees one after another like dumplings being dropped into a pot. Hearing the officials' congratulations, His Majesty's expression did not improve. He was now paranoid, suspecting that every supernatural phenomenon was the female lead's doing. That damn old man, he actually still suspects me. The miracle I spent half my cultivation on cannot go to waste. Oomph. If it weren't for the restrictions of the heavenly Tao, I would have torn this old geezer to shreds long ago. Once I ascend the throne, I'll definitely imprison this old fogey and cut him once every day to satisfy my grudge. I need to contact the heir of the Marquis of Jinbei quickly. Now that I've changed my skin, I wonder if he'll still recognize me. Although the female lead didn't want it to happen, the truth system still transmitted her inner thoughts into the minds of everyone present. Oh dear, all the officials were stunned. What was that? They thought it was a real auspicious omen? To think it was actually that demon causing trouble. Wait, the heir of the Marquis of Jinbei? The same Marquis who commands the 100,000 troops of the northern border? Isn't he the younger brother of noble consort Li? Heavens, he was actually in league with the Demoness. The emperor breathed a secret sigh of relief. Humph. Just as he suspected, that Demoness hadn't died completely. She had come back to wreak havoc on the royal family again. This time, His Majesty had a different plan. He ordered the guards to bind the 16th princess and summoned both the abbot and the Taoist priest. He was determined to deal with this Demoness once and for all. Seeing the abbot and the priest enter together, the female lead knew her disguise had been exposed. Without hesitation, she fled. All that remained at the scene was the lifeless body of a child. I saw the female lead's soul clearly. It was no longer robust and could not support many more possessions. I just wonder whose body she will inhabit next. The female lead's escape infuriated His Majesty. He locked the remaining 3 princesses in Ganen Temple to meditate and chant scriptures. It seemed the Demoness had a vendetta against his princesses. For the rest of his life, those 3 children could forget about ever coming out. As for the heir of the Marquis of Jinbei, the Marquis himself brought the boy's severed head to the palace overnight. It was cremated along with the 16th princess's corpse. Because of the female lead, His Majesty began to believe in gods and spirits. Compared to Buddhism's focus on the afterlife, Taoism's focus on the present life appealed more to the emperor. He was convinced that by practicing Taoist arts and consuming immortal elixirs, he could naturally resolve the issue of having no heir. The emperor began ordering the priest of Tianyi Temple to refine immortal elixirs for him. However, this world was already in the age of Dharma decline. Beyond some rudimentary tricks, the occultists had lost their true abilities to the passage of time. Otherwise, the female lead wouldn't have been able to find a loophole to sneak in. After all, the heavenly Tao had paid a great price to hire me to clean up this mess. The pills refined by the Tianyi priest did have some miraculous effects on His Majesty. At the very least, his spirit became hyper-energetic, and he lasted longer in bed. Yet, 3 months later, still no one in the harem was pregnant. The emperor felt he simply wasn't trying hard enough, so he increased the dosage and continued his struggle. I advised His Majesty to know when to stop, warning him to be careful of a stroke in the bedroom. But the emperor refused to listen, waving me off to preside over the morning court session in his stead. He claimed he didn't want anyone interrupting his good time. Having been in this world for over 2 years, I have become familiar with everything in the great Jin dynasty and handle government affairs with ease. The ministers all cooperate with my work, making my efficiency twice as high with half the effort. However, things on the emperor's side have become increasingly debauched and unrestrained, as he spends all day drinking and making merry. His body is nearly hollowed out. If not for the elixirs from Taoist Master Tianyi sustaining him, I fear His Majesty would have collapsed long ago. Lately, he has been doting heavily on a newly inducted Lady Wu. I heard she is stunningly beautiful, with a curvaceous figure that is quite captivating. After favoring her for a month, the emperor is so enthralled he has forgotten everything else, taking her wherever he goes. Case in point. For Lady Wu's birthday, on the 15th of April, His Majesty specially organized a grand banquet for her. In just half a year since entering the palace, Lady Wu has already been promoted to noble consort Wu. Her speed of promotion is practically the fastest of any consort in Great Jin history. For this birthday banquet, The emperor ordered the ministers to attend with their families, saying everyone had to offer their congratulations and blessings to noble consort Wu. Since it is the first time the emperor has shown such excessive favor to a consort, everyone is incredibly curious about her. I heard she was presented by the Governor-General of Jiangnan, an orphan with no parents. I, too, am curious to see what kind of charm this woman possesses to make the emperor so obsessed. When the moon reached its zenith, the emperor finally arrived late, his arm around a voluptuous woman as he took his seat at the head table. That noble consort's looks truly justified the emperor's obsession. Many of the drunken ministers watched with burning eyes, practically drooling. I took a small sip of wine and looked toward noble consort Wu. Your Majesty, don't. I'm a little drunk. Your Majesty, be gentler. Huh, an old acquaintance. But the female lead has really gone all out this time, actually possessing the body of the old emperor's consort. Huh, let's listen to her inner thoughts together. Asterisk, damned old pervert. Asterisk, asterisk, disgusting. He reeks of old man. Asterisk, asterisk. He's terrible in bed, but loves to play. This old fossil can't compare to a young stud. He's far worse than the top scholar. Asterisk, asterisk. I've sacrificed so much this time. Just bear it for a while longer. Once this old fossil dies, I'll go seduce the crown prince. Asterisk, asterisk. I am definitely going to become the empress regnant. Asterisk, asterisk, ha. I've been back for half a year, and no one has noticed. It's a sure thing this time. Asterisk, asterisk, clatter, clatter, clatter. Asterisk, wine cups and chopsticks fell one after another as everyone stared with wide eyes and open mouths. His Majesty the Emperor was indeed as vigorous as ever and truly cherished his life. One moment he was still clutching the beauty's waist, and the next he let go. He scrambled away, crawling in a desperate flight. Guards! Guards! Kill her! Kill her! The Emperor's shocked and furious roar sent a shudder through everyone's hearts. Fortunately, the Imperial Guards were not useless. Without needing another word from His Majesty, they raised their blades and hacked at noble consort Wu. For the third time, the female protagonist's head was chopped off. As luck would have it, the head actually rolled right to the table of the newly appointed top scholar. Ha! Everyone turned their eyes toward the female protagonist's lover. Well, this honest-looking top scholar certainly had a neck of iron. He actually dared to cuckold the emperor. Despite the bloody lessons of so many predecessors, he actually showed no fear. What a warrior! A pity for the vice minister of the Ministry of Rights, who had just snatched this son-in-law from the results board, and his daughter. They had only been married for a few days. That iron-headed top scholar had also heard the female protagonist's inner voice, and now he was looking at the head that had rolled right before his eyes. Trembling uncontrollably, he fainted from fright. His new bride beside him was beyond furious. She stood up and gave him several hard kicks. The banquet came to a hurried end. After this birthday banquet, the emperor became ascetic, no longer daring to step foot into the inner palace. God knows which consort that monster would possess next. The mere thought of his intimacy with the monster filled him with disgust and fear. What was even more infuriating was that the monster had actually found him repulsive. Most humiliatingly, his private bedroom affairs had become known to his ministers. During imperial court sessions, he felt as though every minister below him was laughing at him. He wanted to execute everyone at the banquet who knew the truth, but fortunately, he still possessed enough reason to know he couldn't do that. However, he grew increasingly reluctant to see anyone. The guards and maidservants around him were all replaced, and even his personal eunuch was swapped out. The emperor spent his days in a newly built Taoist temple, meditating and chanting scriptures with Taoist Master Tianyi. He hoped this would cleanse him of the monster's foul luck. He felt his health declining lately, and was certain the monster had drained his vital essence. As for the top scholar, the emperor naturally did not let him off. Once again, a long line formed at the Kaishiku execution grounds. That wretched Governor-General of Jiangnan, who was credited with recommending a beauty just half a year ago, was dismissed and sent home today. Truly, the world is unpredictable. I returned to the Eastern Palace, sighing as I pondered the female lead's inner voice. She is trying to emulate the Empress from another dimension. First, she entered the old Emperor's harem, and now she has set her sights on me, the Crown Prince. I think she was forced by circumstances. After all, there are no women in my Eastern Palace yet. If there were, she probably would have possessed one of them and come over long ago. After all, judging by the men she seeks, she still prefers the flesh of young men. His Majesty is far too old, and previously, the one she possessed was even His Majesty's own daughter. The old emperor indeed wanted me to take a consort as soon as possible, but I refused. I was firm. As his only son, he had no choice but to compromise. However, since I wasn't in a hurry to marry, the old emperor felt quite relieved. He thought I was well-behaved and filial, a good crown prince. He felt secure enough to hand over all state affairs to me. I thought the female lead would stay quiet for a while after that, but I didn't expect her to make a comeback so soon. And this time, she did something big. She actually possessed that 60-something-year-old geezer, Guozheng, the commander of the Anqi army. During the 2 years I've been acting as regent, that old man has been crying poverty to me every day, begging for grain and weapons. He had long harbored rebellious intent. It doesn't surprise me that the female lead could seduce him. Now, she has rebelled. She is marching toward the capital with 100,000 Anqi troops. Following His Majesty's orders, I led 200,000 troops of the Central Army out of the capital to suppress the Anqi army. A fierce battle broke out midway. Weapons clashed, blades flashed, and blood flowed like rivers. By the time the slaughter ended, only my Central Army and the surrendered Anqi troops remained in this world. I'll be back. The female lead screamed with her last breath as I took her life with my spear. I finally know who's been playing tricks. Li Zhongshang, you despicable scoundrel. Just you wait. After dying 5 times, the female lead finally noticed me. However, as for her calling me despicable, I certainly don't admit to that. I'm just a specialist doing a job for pay. The heavenly Tao of this world is the one who made me do it. Besides, I only let everyone hear her true thoughts. I didn't do anything extra. Even though I was the one who killed her this time, she can only blame her own lack of skill. Under the same suppression by this world, she couldn't beat me. It was her own incompetence. Or blame His Majesty. It was all his command. I gave the order with a smile to burn the bodies of Guozheng and the other Anqi army soldiers right there on the spot. There were about 50,000 surrendered Anqi soldiers. It was Guozheng's lieutenant who, unable to bear the senseless sacrifice of his men, led the way in helping me surround and suppress Guozheng. I appointed the lieutenant as the new commander-in-chief of the Anqi army. From then on, the Anqi army was no longer the private border army of the Guo family. Returning to the capital, I hadn't even rested for a moment in the Eastern Palace when the Emperor's imperial edict arrived. His Majesty ordered me to ascend the throne immediately, while he would become the Grand Emperor. On the 9th day of the 9th month, I climbed the 99 jade steps to offer sacrifices to heaven. I, Li Zhongshang, became the 6th Emperor of the Great Jin. As the ministers knelt in worship, the Grand Emperor, who had retired to practice Taoism, rushed forward. Stop! I do not agree. Li Zhongshang cannot be emperor. Guards, kill this bastard for me. The Grand Emperor was shouting. He was roaring. But no one responded, and no one moved. Everyone watched the Grand Emperor prance about, as if he were a buffoon, because everyone could hear his inner thoughts. So close. Thank goodness I made it in time. Haha, Li Zhongshang, this time I've seized the old emperor's body. Where else can you run now? Li Zhongshang, go to hell. Go to hell for me. The heroine really did her best. Before, she used to trick hosts into letting her possess them, but this time she actually forcibly seized the old emperor's body. An emperor, even though he had retired to become the Grand Emperor, the old man had been emperor for decades and had gathered the dragon chi of the Great Jin within himself. Forcing a possession like that must have cost the heroine all of her remaining cultivation. I suppose this is her last chance. Damn old geezer, he actually didn't fall for my charms. Doesn't even want immortality anymore. God damn it. I've gambled all my cultivation. I have to succeed this time. If I can't become the Empress, then I'll just refine this world and start all over. Whoa, what does refining the world even mean? Everyone was stunned, but I didn't hesitate to make my move. With a sweep of the Son of Heaven's sword, the old Emperor's head rolled down the jade steps. Father was possessed by a demon. He was beyond saving. The demon deserves 1,000 deaths and must be executed. I brandished the Son of Heaven's sword and shouted at the top of my lungs. The crowd froze for a moment. Then everyone bowed and kowtowed in unison. Your Majesty is righteous. Long live the Emperor. Long live, long live. Though there were some twists and turns in the process, I successfully became the Emperor. My first imperial edict upon taking office. I disbanded the old Emperor's harem. All concubines who wanted to go home could return. Those who didn't were sent to separate palaces to live out their days in retirement. The 3 princesses were also finally released from the Temple of Gratitude. As I strode through the inner palace, I suddenly heard a voice again. Damn, that Li Zhongshang. Bet you didn't expect this. I still have one last life. I am the 7-headed serpent. I will return sooner or later. This voice belonged to a female infant. Had the female lead possessed a fetus? Back then, I managed to grow from a baby into 7 heads. I can definitely do it again. Crap, isn't that bastard Li Zhongshang? Why is he coming this way? How'd he find me? Smiling radiantly, I turned into a palace maid's resting room alone. A maid with a slightly bulging belly was lying on the Kong bed. The female lead was inside her womb. I struck the back of the maid's neck, knocking her unconscious. Oh no, danger! Li Zhongshang found me. What do I do? What do I do? The female infant's thoughts were filled with panic. This time, it's truly goodbye, 7-headed snake. Li Zhongshang? You aren't that useless Li Zhongshang. You know I'm a 7-headed snake. Who are you? Can you spare me just this once? Please, I am willing to serve you as my master. Please, I beg you, spare me. The female lead's wretched state was on full display as she pleaded and made desperate promises. Unfortunately, I am a merciless cleaner. Since I agreed to clear away the trash, I would not let her go. At that moment, my magic power was finally unsealed. A burst of golden light descended upon the maid's abdomen. Mercy, let me go. I refuse to accept this. What? I am the one destined to be the Empress. I am the only Empress of this world. Heaven has failed me. A snake's shadow, now missing 6 of its heads, struggled in agony upon the maid's belly. In less than a breath, the female lead's inner voice fell silent, and the snake's shadow vanished. The truth-telling system also completed its mission and returned to my system space. The task was a total success. Leaving the inner palace, I returned to the Emperor's bedchamber. After dismissing all the maids and eunuchs, I pulled a white soul out from my system space. The soul looked exactly like my current self. Indeed, he was the original host, the real Li Zhongshang. This was the agreement I had made with the heavenly way of this world. I would inhabit Li Zhongshang's body to purge the monsters plaguing the great Jin dynasty and restore order. As a cowardly and powerless prince, Li Zhongshang had essentially won by doing nothing, waking up to find he had lucked into becoming the emperor. He had witnessed everything from within the system space during these past few days. With a racing heart and an ecstatic mind, Li Zhongshang's soul bowed to me with trembling hands. I thank the immortal. All right, no need for such formalities. I am returning your body to you. I cleanly detached myself from Li Zhongshang's body. Wait, immortal. Seeing that I was about to leave, Li Zhongjin suddenly spoke up to stop me. Since the immortal has come, you might as well stay. Stay here for me. I looked and saw that Li Zhongshang's soul was still outside, yet his body was actually moving again. I watched as Li Zhongshang's soul form retreated rapidly, while a stiff smile appeared on the face of his physical body. The heavenly Tao, I asked in surprise. The immortal is indeed clever. The heavenly Tao stared at me with piercing eyes. Why stop me? I have already fulfilled our agreement. How could a single seven-headed serpent be enough to mend the cracks in my world? I have heard the immortal's power is vast. It is only right that you serve as nourishment for my world. The heavenly Tao greedily moved to devour me instantly. Immortal, become the foundation stone for my world. The heavenly Tao struck. Since you are heartless, do not blame me for being merciless. I laughed loudly. Damn, I had been coveting its world fragments for ages. If it hadn't been for the laws of the universe, I never expected it would be the one to break the agreement. I'll gladly accept this gift delivered to my door. Without a shred of hesitation, I swallowed the heavenly Tao of this world. Burp, I'm a bit full this time. It has nothing to do with me. I beg the immortal. Li Zhongshang, who had witnessed everything, was scared witless. He never expected that even the heavenly Tao was no match for me. He tried to flee. I indifferently crushed his soul. A truly contemptible man. This world is mine, after all.